Social Justice Goblin here. Welcome to the backyard. I know, we're starting to redo videos. What a strange thing. Anyways, so I've been doing a lot of wrestling book reading. I've gotten on a kick. I want to study the business. So I figured, as any educated fake would, reading would be fundamental. So I read Tim Hornbuck's massive volume, and I don't have a copy of the book. I read it through Kindle. I bought it on Amazon, and I read it with my Kindle, and my Kindle's on my phone, and I'm filming on my phone, so I can't show you a copy of the book, but I can show you a copy of Death of the WCW, which is a separate review that I did. Anyways, the Death of the Territories is set in the 1980s, and it begins analyzing it explains the territories. And for you that don't know, wrestling before WWF made it a national product and was changed by the aspect of cable television, which really changed the business. The wrestling was divided into three major was divided amongst what were called the territories. So each region, like Memphis, Texas, Louisiana, Florida. Florida had its own federation, actually. Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas. Like Memphis was Kentucky, Virginia. There was different federations that were regional. Or like the guys up in the Pacific North that ran shows out of Washington State and Oregon. It was a very regional formula. So basically what happened is you had your regional wrestlers, and then they had what was called an alliance called NWA or AWA. AWA was more in the Midwest and was ran by Vern Gagne, where the NWA was a conglomerate of all those regional promotions, had unified under one banner, and they then booked, they had a mainstream, like Ric Flair would be booked to appear all over the place, and they decided who won the championships, and they had meetings, and it was a cartel that ran the wrestling business. And then in the 80s, along came this young upstart named Vince McMahon Jr. The Jr. is no longer mentioned because Vince hates being called Jr. And so, anyways, long story short, it goes into the great history of the 80s and how the system that had been part of the territories had been part of wrestling since the 19th century, really. And wrestling had grown into a territorial system, came to a crashing halt with the emergence of cable television. Cable television changed wrestling and created the juggernaut as you read the history, as WWF viciously destroyed what was left of the territory. I mean, granted, it also went into the foibles that the territory peoples did, and how those federations like Georgia Wrestling and Jim Crockett Promotions became national federations, and AWA AWA had friggin' Hulk Hogan and didn't give him the belt, and then he left to go to the WWF, where we all know what happened there. And how WWF slowly just took out the competition by syndicating a show everywhere and using cable TV to destroy, and how the territories themselves destroyed themselves. And AWA destroyed itself, JCP in the end destroyed itself, and watching these very successful promotions go down the toilet as the territory system just slowly died. And the NWA now, it's making a resurgence under the guy from Smashing Pumpkins, and I'm excited because they're showing the history and respect to wrestling that is important, even though they're letting Jim Cornette talk. Yeah, less said about that, the better, and I have a video series about that anyways. But it's a good read. It's a very dry read because Hornbuck is a history professor, really. He writes as an historian writes. So if you're a fan of history, it's a great read. If you want to know and understand a deep understanding of wrestling in the 80s, it's a great read. But be aware, it's dry. So you're going to read a lot about house results. Pretty much, ratings and house results are the bread and butter of history books. The historians love that stuff. But It's a great read if you want to understand the history, and it really taught me a lot of lessons on how to run a promotion and how to fail with a promotion. With the internet, who knows what's going to happen? Because the internet is changing the game too. Because cable television, how many 20-somethings have cable television these days? Everyone streams. Anyways, so that is my review of The Death of Tori. A great read, but very dry.